Jason's transport ship had been running smoothly all day, carrying valuable cargo across the empty stretch of space between two distant colonies. The routine mission was supposed to be simple, nothing more than a quick run through a safe corridor in the asteroid belt. But as he entered the narrow passage, dark shapes suddenly swarmed around him mid-ears. Small at first, but quickly growing in size and speed, striking the hull with violent crashes. The alarms blared inside the cockpit, the lights flickering. As systems started to fail one by one, Jason's hands moved quickly, working the controls, trying to steer the ship clear of the storm, but the damage was too severe. One hard impact knocked out the navigation system, then the life support started to flicker dangerously. Panic rose in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. He knew that panicking would only make things worse. His communications were dead, so there was no way to call for help. Alone in the cold silence of space, far from any friendly station, he faced the terrifying reality that he was stranded. Jason pulled himself out of the cockpit and began to inspect the outer hull, hoping to find the source of the damage and fix it. The small repairs were frustratingly difficult with the limited tools on board, and each attempt seemed to reveal new problems. Oxygen was running low, and the backup power was barely holding on. Desperation crept in as he realized that transport might never fly again. Days passed, or maybe just hours. It was hard to tell when time had lost its meaning in the dark void. But Jason kept working, refusing to give up. Then, just as he was about to lose hope, a faint signal appeared on the damaged communication panel. It was weak and irregular, but unmistakably artificial. Curiosity and the instinct to survive pushed him to follow the signal, setting a course for its source. After drifting through space, his sensors picked up a derelict ship, old and scarred by time and battle, drifting silently nearby. He docked cautiously, the metal groaning as the two vessels connected. Inside the dim corridors of the alien ship, Jason felt an uneasy chill. The air was stale, and strange symbols covered the walls. Then, from the shadows, a soft noise echoed. A human voice would have said it was a whisper, but it was clearly alive. Jason's heart jumped when he found her, a young alien girl. Older than a teenager, with wide eyes full of fear and confusion. She was thin, dressed in tattered clothes, and seemed just as stranded as he was. Neither of them spoke the other's language at first, but the shared experience of being alone in the vast emptiness created a fragile connection. Both had been abandoned by their worlds, caught in the silence of space with only each other. Jason's instincts told him to keep his distance, but the girl's eyes reflected a desperate hope. Over time, the tension between them eased. They started sharing basic ideas through gestures and drawings, discovering that cooperation was their best chance for survival. Lyra, as Jason learned to call her, showed him how to use some of the alien technology on the ship devices that seemed advanced beyond anything humans had ever built. She moved with careful grace, her knowledge mysterious but invaluable. Jason in turn shared what little he knew about his own ship and the human ways of fixing machines. Together, they scavenged parts from both transports, scavenging through dark, forgotten rooms filled with the echoes of lives long gone. Despite the growing threat of running out of air, food, and power, they found strength in each other's presence. The silence of space was no longer completely empty, but danger was still close. Jason knew that every moment counted. The longer they stayed stranded, the smaller their chances of rescue. Somewhere out there, unknown forces might be watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. As the alien girl looked at him with a quiet determination, Jason realized that survival was not just about fixing broken ships or fighting the cold darkness. It was about trust and connection, the fragile bond between two souls lost in space. Holding on to hope in the face of endless night, Jason and Lyra found themselves thrown together in the vast emptiness of space. Two strangers from worlds far apart, forced to rely on each other for survival. At first, their attempts to communicate were awkward and frustrating. Jason spoke in slow, clear English, hoping the tone and simple gestures would help. But Lyra's responses were a mixture of strange sounds and signs unfamiliar to him. Her species had no common words with humans, and their customs were completely different. Lyra's eyes bright and intelligent, revealed a sharp mind, but her silence made Jason feel isolated again. Despite the language barrier, he noticed her unique abilities. She moved with extraordinary speed and grace, her senses seeming sharper than any human's. Sometimes, she would touch a device or panel, and it would respond in ways Jason could not explain, as if she was speaking directly to the technology itself. He watched her with a mixture of awe and cautious hope, realizing that her knowledge of advanced technology might be the key to their escape. Meanwhile, Jason brought something else to their fragile partnership: human resilience. He had faced tough situations before, from mechanical failures to moments when hope seemed lost, and he knew how to adapt. Slowly, the two began to bridge the gap between their worlds through simple actions. Jason drew pictures and symbols on scrap metal, while Lyra traced glowing shapes in the air with her fingers. Though their communication was limited, their intentions became clear: survival, cooperation, and trust. Yet the tension between them was undeniable. Moments of silence felt heavy, and misunderstandings sparked frustration. Jason sometimes felt the weight of loneliness, even with Lyra nearby, and she showed signs of fear and hesitation, as if haunted by memories he could only imagine. But amid the unease, a spark of friendship began to grow, fragile but real. Together they explored the wreckage of both ships, searching for anything useful. The corridors of the alien ship were dark and narrow, filled with strange machines and unfamiliar technology. Jason learned to recognize patterns in the glowing panels and alien scripts, while Lyra watched his hands carefully handle human tools. They worked side by side, sometimes exchanging brief looks that spoke more than words ever could. They scavenged parts, broken wires, energy cells, metal plates, and devices that neither fully understood. Jason crafted a makeshift shelter from the combined remains of their two ships, creating a small, safe space to rest and plan. Repairs began slowly. Every day was a new challenge as they battled failing power, leaking oxygen, and the ever-present threat of total isolation. Jason's hands ached from constant labor, but Lyra's silent encouragement and occasional bursts of energy gave him strength. One evening, as the ship's artificial lights flickered, Lyra placed a hand on Jason's arm, a simple gesture, but one filled with meaning. It was a moment of connection, proof that they were no longer just stranded individuals, but uneasy allies united by circumstance. Outside their fragile shelter, the endless blackness of space reminded them of how small and vulnerable they were, yet inside, a shared determination burned bright. Despite their differences, they had found a way to work together, each teaching the other new skills and knowledge. Jason learned to trust Lyra's instincts and abilities, while she began to understand human persistence and hope. The journey ahead was uncertain and filled with danger. But for the first time since the storm struck, they were no longer completely alone. Their partnership was a fragile lifeline in the cold void, a testament to the unexpected ways to vary. Different beings could find strength in each other when faced with impossible odds. And as they prepared for the long days of repair and waiting, both knew that their survival depended not just on the machines they were fixing, but on the fragile bond they were building, one that might just carry them back to the stars. Days slipped by in the cold silence of space, but inside the battered ships, a new kind of warmth grew between Jason and Lyra. Each day, Jason watched Lyra in awe, just for her clear skill with the alien technology surrounding them, but for her, quiet strength and deep empathy. While she might seem young and vulnerable, her hands moved with confident precision when repairing complex devices, and her eyes held a fierce determination that surprised Jason. It was as if she could feel the life in the machines and the hope tied to their survival, sensing the weight of their shared struggle. At the same time, Lyra began to see Jason in a new light. His courage and quick thinking during moments of crisis were more than just survival tactics. They were signs of an unyielding spirit that refused to surrender. When systems failed or dangers crept closer, Jason's calm decisions often saved them from disaster, inspiring Lyra to trust her own instincts more deeply. Their relationship shifted from mere cooperation to a true partnership, one built on respect and growing trust. Beyond the confines of their makeshift shelter, The barren planet nearby loomed large and unforgiving. Its surface was a harsh desert of jagged rocks and swirling dust storms, silent except for the wind's eerie howl through narrow canyons. They had to leave the safety of their ships occasionally to scavenge vital parts or check for signs of rescue, but each trip was filled with danger. Jason and Lyra faced more than the planet's unforgiving terrain. Strange magnetic fields interfered with their instruments, and sudden storms of dust could blind or suffocate them without warning. One day, while searching a canyon for power cells, they were caught in a sudden violent dust storm that whipped at their suits and made breathing difficult. Jason's quick instincts kicked in. He grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her toward a narrow cave entrance they had spotted moments before. Inside the dark shelter, their breaths came fast, and the storm raged outside like a living beast. It was in moments like these that Jason realized Lyra's empathy went beyond human understanding. She comforted him with quiet words and a gentle touch, even though their languages were still imperfect. Her calm presence was a shield against the crushing fear of isolation. In return, Jason shared stories of Earth and human resilience, reminding her that no matter how harsh the odds, they could endure together. As they ventured back to the ships, their minds raced with plans to improve their chances, Lyra taught Jason how to manipulate alien systems to create better energy shields around their shelter, while Jason showed her how to jury-rig human tools to withstand the harsh planet's conditions. Their combined ingenuity began to turn the tide against their desperate situation. Every small victory, fixing a power core, restoring oxygen flow, or securing the shelter against storms, felt like a battle won in a war they had never wanted to fight. At night, beneath the scattered stars, they would sit side by side in silence, feeling the weight of the universe pressing down on them, but also the strength they found in each other. Despite their very different worlds and languages, their bond grew stronger, a living proof that connection and hope could flourish even in the darkest places. The challenges they faced had tested them in ways neither could have predicted, but Jason and Lyra refused to give in to despair. Together, they were more than just two stranded souls. They were a force of will and courage, ready to fight for their chance to return home or find a new place among the stars. And as the days passed on that lonely planet, the spark between them burned brighter, promised that even when lost in the void, strength could be found in trust, friendship, and the unbreakable will to survive. Beneath the harsh glow of the alien planets, twin suns, Jason and Lyra ventured out once again, this time on a critical mission to repair a vital power conduit that would allow their broken transport to finally hum with life again. The air was thin, and the rocky ground cracked beneath their boots, but their determination pushed them forward despite the dangers lurking just beyond the horizon. As they worked side by side, Jason's eyes caught something unusual, a faint carved symbol etched into a nearby rock face, partially hidden by dust and shadow. The shape was unfamiliar, yet strangely deliberate, like a message left behind. Curiosity piqued, Jason gently brushed away the dust, revealing more of the design: a star, crossed by lines that resembled maps or battle plans. His heart quickened. As the pieces slowly fell into place, this was no ordinary planet, and this was no simple accident of fate that had brought Lyra here. Gathering his courage, Jason pressed Lyra for answers, though he knew this was a delicate subject. After a long silence filled only by the faint hum of the ship's distant systems, Lyra's eyes darkened with a mixture of fear and pain. Slowly, she revealed the truth: her people were caught in the middle of a vast and brutal galactic conflict, a war that had torn her home apart and forced her to flee. She spoke of shattered worlds, of families lost, and of a desperate hope for peace that seemed ever out of reach. Jason listened, each word deepening his resolve. This was not just about survival anymore. It was about a cause greater than either of them, a chance to stop the endless cycle of violence that threatened to consume countless innocent lives. They knew they could not stay hidden forever. Hostile patrols rumored to be sweeping the sector were coming closer. Their presence felt like a dark shadow creeping toward their fragile refuge. Time was running out. Working quickly but carefully, Jason and Lyra returned to their shelter, their minds racing to formulate a plan. They combined their knowledge's experience with human engineering and her understanding of alien technology to devise a way to power up the transport's core. It was risky. Every system needed to be perfectly synchronized, and a single mistake could blow the whole ship apart. Night fell, blanketing the barren landscape in eerie silence, broken only by the faint crackle of distant energy weapons and the harsh whisper of the wind. They worked through exhaustion and fear, knowing that failure meant more than just being stranded. It could mean capture, or worse. As the final systems began to hum with renewed life, a warning blared from the ship's sensors. Hostile ships were closing in fast, their engines cutting through space like hunting beasts. Jason and Lyra exchanged a glance full of unspoken understanding. Their chance to escape was slipping away, but their will to fight and survive burned stronger than ever. The night was thick with tension, but they stood ready to unlikely allies. United by trust and hope, prepared to face whatever came next for the chance to bring light to a dark galaxy. The final moments before takeoff were filled with a tense energy neither Jason nor Lyra had ever experienced. Every system on the transport ship flickered as they pushed it to its limits, their hands moving over controls they barely understood, but worked on together with a shared urgency. Jason's knowledge of human engineering combined with Lyra's deep understanding of alien technology was the key to reviving the crippled ship. They had scavenged and repaired, overcome countless obstacles, and now the ship's core hummed steadily, a beacon of hope in the vast darkness around them. But danger was not far behind. The hostile patrol was closing in, and every second counted. The air inside the cramped cockpit was thick with tension as they completed the final checks. Their eyes meeting with silent communication, an unspoken promise that they would survive this together. The engines roared to life, shaking the ship. As systems stabilized, but a sudden warning light flashed. A power surge threatened to overload the main reactor. Without hesitation, Jason leapt into action, quickly rerouting circuits while Lyra manipulated an alien control panel, her hands glowing faintly with a light that seemed to calm the machine's unrest. Sparks flew and alarms blared, but their combined skills prevented disaster, the crisis averted just in time. As the patrol ships appeared on the transport sensors, their silhouettes growing larger against the star-speckled backdrop, Jason engaged the thrusters with a fierce determination. The transport lurched forward, breaking free from the planet's gravity and streaking toward the endless sky. Outside, the stars blurred into streaks of light as they accelerated, a silent symphony of speed and survival. For the first time in what felt like forever, Jason and Lyra could breathe without fear, their hearts pounding not with dread, but with the thrill of escape. The vast universe spread before them, full of unknown dangers, but also endless possibilities. The bond forged, in the crucible of hardship now shone brightly between them. They were no longer just a human and an alien stranded on a broken ship. They were partners, united by hope, courage, and the will to face whatever awaited among the stars. Together, they looked forward to a future beyond the void, ready to write their own story across the galaxies.